The light from the computer screen was the only illumination in the dark dorm room. Tyler scrolled through the messages, a slow smile spreading across his face. Another photo from Eli, this one a gym selfie showing off defined abs against a backdrop of what looked like a university athletic center. Tyler tapped out a reply. Looking good. Can't wait for tomorrow. He leaned back in his creaky desk chair. Tomorrow was the day. After months of texts, late-night calls, and increasingly intimate photos, they were finally meeting. Eli, his sweet, slightly needy online boyfriend who sent him pictures of his dog and complained about his freshman classes, was arriving at the University of Michigan. Tyler, a junior, had already mapped out their perfect first date. His phone buzzed on the desk, the screen lighting up with Eli's name. Text, not a photo for once. Tyler opened it, his good mood evaporating as he read. I can't do tomorrow. I'm so sorry. Tyler's fingers flew over the keypad. What? Why? We've had this planned for weeks. The response came quickly, accompanied by a picture. It was a selfie, but only a sliver of a bruised jaw and a split lower lip were visible. Got into a fight. Face is messed up. Can't let you see me like this. A hot surge of protectiveness shot through Tyler. Who did this to you? Tell me his name. 3 blinking dots appeared. Then the answer. Ethan Reed. Business school. 3rd year. The phone nearly slipped from Tyler's grip. He stared at the name, the letters blurring. He read it again. Ethan Reed. Couldn't be. A cold numbness spread from his core out to his limbs. He'd just come back from his mother's place in that lakeside suburb, where he'd spent an excruciating hour across the dinner table from his stepbrother Ethan. The same Ethan whose smug face he'd wanted to rearrange after a nasty comment about his mother. The same Ethan he'd, in fact, shoved against a wall just a few hours ago after Ethan had said something unforgivable. The room felt airless. Tyler's mind raced, connecting disjointed pieces. Eli. Ethan. Both were freshmen. Eli's constant complaints about a hated person in his new blended family. Ethan's palpable disdain for Tyler and his mother. The familiar, teasing tone Eli used online that felt nothing like the icy glare Ethan wielded in person. He dropped the phone like it was burning him. A raw, guttural sound tore from his throat. From the top bunk, his roommate Marcus's head popped over the edge. Dude, you okay? Tyler could only shake his head, waves of nausea and absurd horror washing over him. All those late-night conversations, the whispered promises, the pet names. It had been Ethan, the guy he couldn't stand the sight of. His good boy was his obnoxious, cold stepbrother. Panic set in, swift and decisive. He couldn't face this. He snatched up the phone, his movements frantic. He typed a message to Eli, his hands trembling. Something's come up. I met someone here at school. This isn't going to work anymore. He hit send before he could second-guess it. Then he blocked the number, deleted the chat history, and erased the entire contact. The finality of it left a hollow ache in his chest, but the alternative was unthinkable. The following week was a blur of forced normalcy. Tyler threw himself into classes and campus activities, anything to avoid the gnawing confusion. He told himself it was for the best. He'd liked the idea of Eli, the charming digital phantom. Ethan Reed was a reality he wanted no part of. Yet, he found his eyes scanning crowds on the diagram, the central campus square, looking for a familiar head of recently darkened hair. He'd heard Ethan had dyed his blonde tips back to a natural brown. He saw him once, crossing the street near the business school. His jaw still marked with a faint yellowing bruise. Their eyes met for a fractured second. Ethan's gaze was like polished flint, cold and impenetrable, before he looked away without a hint of recognition. Tyler felt a ridiculous sting of rejection. Marcus, now happily dating a graduate student he'd met at a coffee shop, tried to offer perspective. Maybe it's a blessing, man. Now you know. No more mystery. But the mystery was all Tyler could think about. The dissonance was maddening. How could the person who wrote "I miss your voice so much it hurts" be the same one who could look through him as if he were furniture? A few days later, Tyler's mother called. Her voice was gentle. "Your father and I are worried about Ethan. He's been skipping classes. He's alone in that apartment near campus and he won't answer his phone. Could you check on him? Just as a favor to me?" Reluctance warred with a nagging sense of obligation. Tyler found himself standing outside a modern apartment building near downtown, inputting the entry code his stepfather had provided. The apartment was quiet, blinds drawn. Empty beer cans littered the glass coffee table. He pushed open the bedroom door. Ethan was curled under a thick duvet, his breathing shallow and rapid. Tyler placed a hand on his forehead. It was furnace hot. All his annoyance melted into immediate concern. He spent the next hour finding medicine, making a trip to a late-night pharmacy for Gatorade, and placing cool cloths on Ethan's burning skin. At one point, Ethan's hand shot out from under the covers, gripping Tyler's wrist with surprising strength. His eyes were closed, his words slurred with fever. "Don't go. Please." The raw plea, so unlike anything the awake Ethan would ever utter, hit Tyler square in the chest. He stayed, his hand trapped, until the medication pulled Ethan back into a deeper sleep. In the quiet dark, Tyler studied the sharp lines of his stepbrother's face, softened now by unconsciousness. He looked younger, vulnerable. When Ethan woke hours later, clarity had returned to his eyes, along with the familiar guarded wall. "What are you doing here?" "Playing nurse," Tyler retorted, the concern morphing back into defensive irritation. "You're welcome." Ethan's gaze dropped. "Thanks," he muttered, the words seeming to cost him. Before Tyler left, Ethan stopped him at the door. He didn't look at Tyler, instead focusing on a spot on the wall. "About what I said. About your mom. I was wrong. I talked to my dad. I apologized to her." The admission was so stiff, so clearly difficult, that Tyler just nodded. "Okay. And my mom? She's the one who left. Not my dad." Ethan's voice was barely above a whisper, laden with a shame he shouldn't have had to carry. "Feels like I'm always the one getting left behind." The sentence hung in the space between them. Tyler saw not his arrogant stepbrother, but the boy behind the screen who'd once confessed he was afraid of being unlovable. Without thinking, he said, "Your dad's crazy about you. And lay off the beer. You're too young to ruin your liver." He escaped before the conversation could go any further, but the image of Ethan's unguarded expression stayed with him. The détente was fragile. Ethan began texting him inane, mundane things. "Saw a squirrel with a whole bagel. Thought of you." Or, "It's supposed to storm later. Don't forget your umbrella." The messages were a bizarre lifeline, a ghost of their old dynamic haunting their new, awkward reality. The breaking point came during a fraternity basketball tournament. Marcus dragged Tyler to watch. Ethan was on the court, a streak of focused energy in a maroon jersey. He moved with a lean, efficient grace Tyler had only ever seen in carefully angled photos. When Ethan sank a three-pointer, the crowd erupted. His eyes scanned the stands and locked onto Tyler's. After the game, swarmed by friends, Ethan broke away and walked straight toward him. Sweat gleamed on his temple. He looked at the half-finished bottle of water in Tyler's hand. "Can I have some of that?" People were watching. Tyler shoved the bottle at him and fled, face burning. A text arrived moments later. "Tasted better than Gatorade." The old, familiar flirting, but now it was a grenade. Tyler didn't know how to respond. He didn't know what any of it meant. Confusion curdled into something darker when Marcus sent him a link to the campus social feed. There was a photo of Ethan walking across the law quad with a pretty, unfamiliar girl, both of them laughing. The caption speculated about a new girlfriend. A corrosive jealousy, hot and utterly irrational, flooded Tyler's system. That night, logging into their old online game on a whim, he saw Eli's avatar was online. In a match with another player. He clicked to spectate and watched, gut twisting. as Eli's character protected a teammate with a single-minded devotion that felt like a personal betrayal. He was, without a doubt, completely lost. He spent the next night in a noisy campus bar with Marcus, who was now blissfully giving dating advice. Tyler drank too much, the music a dull throb against his temples. He was mourning two people who were the same person, and he didn't know how to stop. Stumbling out into the cool night air alone, he saw a figure leaning against a lamppost down the block. Even silhouetted, the posture was unmistakable. Ethan. He pushed off and walked over, his steps quick. "I've been looking for you for an hour," he said, his voice tight. "Who's the guy who picked you up?" "My roommate," Tyler slurred, the world tilting slightly. "His girlfriend has him on a leash." "Not that it's any of your business." The tension seemed to drain from Ethan's shoulders. He guided Tyler into a cab, back to his quiet, clean apartment. He made coffee and didn't ask any more questions. Tyler woke on the guest bed to the smell of bacon and coffee. He found Ethan in the kitchen, a textbook open beside the stove. The domesticity of the scene was disorienting. "I added you back," Ethan said simply, not looking up from the eggs he was scrambling. "On my phone. You should accept." Later, back on campus, Tyler did. The first message came through almost immediately. "I know why you really ended things. It was because you found out it was me." Tyler didn't reply. He couldn't. "I've been giving you space. Trying to let you see I'm not only the guy you hate at home." The honesty was disarming. Tyler stared at the screen, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. That Friday, he went to his mother's house for a family dinner, steeling himself for the usual frosty silence. To his surprise, Ethan was already there. They moved around each other in the kitchen, a careful dance. When Tyler's stepfather accidentally offered him a shrimp cocktail, both his mother and Ethan spoke at once. "He's allergic." His stepfather beamed, misinterpreting the coincidence entirely. "Look at you two. You're even on the same page." Tyler wanted to sink through the floor. Ethan studied his plate, a faint pink tinging his ears. After dinner, they shared a ride back to campus. At the university gates, a sleek convertible pulled up. Marcus waved from the driver's seat. "Ready to go?" Tyler turned to Ethan. "I'll see you later." Ethan's expression clouded. "Who is that?" "Is that the person you—" "It's my roommate," Tyler snapped, exhausted by the subtext. "We're going to a party. Relax." He got in the car. In the passenger seat, the jealousy he'd felt earlier now made a terrible, hopeful kind of sense. The party was a bust. Tyler left early, wandering the streets near the bars, his mind churning. He turned a corner and almost collided with someone. Ethan stood there, breathing hard as if he'd been running. "I've been to 3 parties looking for you," he said, his voice rough. "You said you met someone. Was it a lie?" The directness shattered Tyler's last defense. The truth tumbled out. "Yes, it was a lie. I was scared. Of me? Of this?" Tyler gestured weakly between them. "Of liking the person online and hating the person in my house. I didn't know they could be the same." Ethan took a step closer. The streetlight cast shadows across his face, highlighting the determined set of his jaw. "I've been trying to show you they are. The guy who texts you about stupid things, who wants you to come to his game. That's me. The angry kid who said those awful things. That was me, too. But I'm not him anymore. Not if you don't want me to be." He reached out, his fingers brushing Tyler's wrist, a mirror of Tyler's touch when he was feverish. "Give me a chance. Let me prove the person you liked is real." Tyler looked into his eyes and saw the boy from the screen. Playful, sincere, a little needy. Finally looking back at him from the face of his stepbrother. The walls he'd built crumbled to dust. "You don't have to prove anything," Tyler heard himself say. "I already know." The kiss, when it came, was nothing like their digital fantasies. It was real, anchored by the solid feel of Ethan's shoulders under his hands, the faint scent of his laundry detergent, the soft sound of surprise he made. It was a collision of their two separate worlds into one undeniable, complicated, perfect reality. Later, tangled together in Tyler's narrow dorm bed, whispering in the dark, they pieced their story together. The misunderstandings, the coincidences, the anger that was really hurt pride and fear. "I sang at that campus acoustic night for you," Ethan murmured, his lips against Tyler's temple. "You never came." "I was there," Tyler admitted. "I heard you. It was beautiful." Ethan pulled back, his eyes searching Tyler's in the dim light. "When I found out it was you, I wasn't disappointed. I was terrified, because I knew how much you couldn't stand me." Tyler traced the line of Ethan's jaw, where the bruise had long since healed. "I could never really stand you," he corrected softly. "I was too busy trying not to fall for you." The future unspooled before them, filled with new challenges. Telling their parents loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon. But for now, in the quiet dark, they had finally found their way to the same place. No longer two halves of a fractured online connection, but two people, whole and real, choosing each other against all odds.